Hey everybody, Mr. Berg here, and we're talking about drawing textured three-dimensional objects. Okay, so you can draw three-dimensional objects, great, but now can you make it look like something? So let's try to draw a circle to start off. That's a decent circle. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is try to make this circle look like a sphere, but at the same time, I'm going to try to make it look like it's covered in short little hair or fur, like animal fur or something like that. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. First off, I want to make it my nice shape. I've got my highlight up top here. That's going to be my lightest spot, and I'm going to gradually get a little bit darker as we go. Now, there's different ways to do this. I'm going to kind of do a little bit of base shading on this fuzzy sphere. And this is going to provide a little bit of value underneath the texture that I'm going to add, okay? So I'm just going to smooth some of that out a little bit. I've got a little bit of a dark shade to it. Kind of looks like an olive, actually. Okay, and now we're going to start adding the hair to it. And here's the trick. You don't want to add like the hatching lines or the hairs all in the same direction because you want them to look like they're wrapping around the sphere. So I'm going to start kind of here and kind of in the middle. And as I'm just drawing these lines here, you can have them all going the same direction, but notice what I'm going to do here. Notice that they're kind of curving up this way because the sphere is round. As I come this direction, notice the direction of the hairs kind of changes. They kind of look like eyelashes almost, right? But notice how they change direction. And then in the middle or the center of the sphere, they kind of come vertically and then they turn and kind of go off in that direction as well. And if you're focused on doing this correctly, what you could do over time is create this really nice textured sphere. Now, you'd want it to get kind of lighter as you get up towards the top, which means perhaps you have less lines or you spread the lines out a little bit more, or maybe you use less pressure, right? So maybe up here I'm going to go back and erase a little bit of that shading I did underneath it. Because up here I want these to get a little bit lighter, the sphere, so it continues to look round. But I'm still using the directional lines to follow the shape of the form or of the sphere, okay? Now, to get darker down here, we're going to have more lines. But we don't want it to look like it's just scribbled in there, right? We still want this to look like it's covered in this fur or this hair. Okay, it's kind of a fuzzy sphere. So don't expect to get it all done really quickly. You know what it actually could be? If you drew a couple of eyes here, a nose, and a mouth, it could be like a character, and this is their hair, and they got a bald spot on top. Kind of cool. I'm not going to do that, though, for the sake of this drawing. But what I want to do in order to keep this sphere form, this round form, is make sure that I'm not adding too many lines to where I lose the idea of it curving, right? You want it to always look like it's curving. And I'm kind of working in these lines as well. You can kind of see like rows, I should say, kind of these curved rows. And that is going to give you that texture of the sphere kind of wrapping around. I'm going a little bit faster now. Maybe I shouldn't go quite as fast. You can always go back and add more to it. Or if you add too much and it gets too dark and indistinct, you can use your eraser to take some away. But what we've got here is kind of this idea of a fuzzy, fur-covered sphere. Maybe it could be like the It actually now kind of looks like the back of someone's head. They're still bald. They're looking that way, right? That's the idea of it. And, you know, if you wanted to go up top here, you could add a little bit of the texture up here and lightly be adding some of these hatching hairlines, fur lines, whatever you want to call them, fuzz lines, and up there. What I don't want to do now is take my finger and blend it all together, because that would lose the texture that I've just created. Pretty cool though. Looks all right, doesn't it? My camera kind of flickered there. Okay, so what you want to do when creating textured on three-dimensional objects is make sure that you don't lose the form or the three-dimensionality of it, or the roundness of this as you're adding in the texture. Next thing we'll do, let's pretend we're drawing like a cactus. Let's do a cactus, okay? I'm not really sure exactly. I can kind of picture like a cactus. I think this is maybe called a saguaro cactus. Maybe it kind of looks like this. I don't know. Let's pretend it looks like that. But we want to keep it looking round. That actually kind of looks like a piece of coral, maybe. We want to keep it looking round, but then we're going to add some curves to it. I'm sorry, not curves, some spikes to it, or not called quills, but I'm losing the word. I can't think of it. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just adding a little bit of pencil around the edges of things. This is not the only way to do this. This is just a way that it works best for me if I kind of go dark and then gradually get lighter. If you like to start off with your lightest values and gradually get darker too, that works, right? Whatever works for you. But the goal is to kind of create this three-dimensionality, this roundness, and then I'm going to add in the spikes to it. Okay, so what we're doing here, now I'm going to take some of this graphite with my finger. You could use a Kleenex, you could use a little rolled paper or something like that, just to make it look a little bit more three-dimensional. I'll probably have to go back and soften some of those lines in, because I don't want it to look like it's covered in, you know, these streaks or this long fur. I don't want it to look messy. I just wanted to create this darker, nice kind of smooth value. So I've got that. And now I'm going to create these like vertical lines on here and then add some of the spikes. I'm just going to go with spikes, even though I don't think that's what they're technically called here. You could go like this, perhaps. You're adding some of these in, maybe. Some of these seams in the plant, or membranes, maybe it's called. Okay, it doesn't look spiky yet, which is okay. Now it's a matter of kind of darkening things around the edges, and I'm going to use, my pencil's kind of sharp. That's blurry. But what I want to do now is decide on some of these like spikes, or how I want it to look. I don't want to do too many. Okay? And I'm going to start on the shape of the cactus and draw the lines off so that the line gets smaller as I pull it away from the form. And that's going to give it kind of this needle type look. Now, right now I'm just going around the outside, but in a second I'm going to add some into the middle. And this is where, you know, perhaps it can start to get some three-dimensionality too. So you can continue doing things like that. And then in the middle here, you know, you could have some kind of going in either direction on the different parts of it. Perhaps these lines I made were a little bit too dark, so I'm losing a little bit of the effect. But I think having these sharp kind of pointed lines is going to be important. So it's similar to actually this hair that I did over here. It's just much more spread out. Right here, I'm going to make this kind of darker because because I'm going to have it be like, kind of look three-dimensional there. So I'm going to go a little bit darker on that. One of the things that I've learned about drawing things three-dimensionally is if you try to just do it really quickly, it's probably not going to turn out very well. Okay, so you have to be patient, take your time, and be willing to go back and fix things, go back and adjust things, and change things around. So as I keep working on this, you know, I might need to go sharpen my pencil sometimes. But what you want to do is try to create this consistent look. On the outside, you've got these kind of sharp barbs. Maybe they're called barbs. I don't know. I should know more about cactuses if I'm going to draw one. Right? And you're creating a texture there, and you're going to continue working on three-dimensionality by darkening it around the outsides and everything. Okay? This is a good start. You could copy these if you want. You could do something a little bit different. But I'm off to a good start. I would keep working on this one to go. Okay? Good luck. See ya.